Well, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure coming up today at this occasion. Market Access Africa has taken us by storm. And the topic, as you've heard, is tapping into the export market of these vital commodities. Well, as Director General of Association of Nigerian Exporters, I want to say we have no specific constituency. The association's mandate is to promote exports in all its ramifications. So whatever you are producing, whether it is product or service, we help you to do it. And also, we represent exporters, the export sector in federal agencies like Nigerian Export Promotion Council Governing Board and the Export Processing Zones Authority Board, statutorily, not by appointment. So whatever you say, we can take to the place, and this government will listen to you. For this topic today, we're going to look at processed cocoa, palm oil, rice, cassava, ginger, and cashew. We're looking at the buyers and sellers' perspectives. It is crucial that you give your attention to what's going to be discussed, because we are dealing with those who are practical people. We've been able to look at, that's talking about the organizers. They're very critical. So we are bringing in those who are actually producing. And I'm pleased to bring on board Adefeko, who is the Director of Corporate and Regulatory Affairs, Olam, Nigeria. Yes. You're welcome, sir. Please have a good seat. You listen to the Chief Executive of Olam, and I have not recovered from what he said. So I know the questions you could not ask him, you will catch Ade. He will not escape. You're welcome, sir. And we are also having the bankers. We've talked about bankers, financing, and we didn't have one of them, but we have been able to get one of them here. We are bringing on board Olugbenya, Adelana. Olugbenya, Adelana. You're welcome, sir. He's the group head. He's the group head, Agribusiness, Solid Minerals, Export Finance of Wema Bank, Nigeria. Well, with his portfolio, you can understand, you can foresee exactly that will cover export finance, which was discussed in passing. You'll also be able to see that a full chain agribusiness value chain will be captured. Now, to bring us further into it, we're having Dr. Gabbey, Gostina, Malope, Principal Director, Toutele Agricultural College, South Africa. Wow. Thank God. I was looking anxiously to see you. She's very much in the education sector of this. You're welcome, my dear. It's great to have you around. So when we are talking of teaching people, educating people on what should be done, the skills aspect, we have somebody who will deal with us. So I thank you for the opportunity to be here and to be on this panel. For those of you who may have stepped out, please come on board because it's going to be a very crucial session, a practical session. I am very pleased to be with you. I believe you've witnessed the opening remarks. A lot of the things that we have to deal with have been talked about. And you will look me straight in the face and know that my members are in the hall, and they would like to know exporters, not only my members, exporters in the hall, so they will need the correct answer. And I know that I will intercede or intervene when on their behalf. Thank you very much. So right now, I'd like to start with you, Ade. I'd like to start with you because it's like a continuum now, so that you are a practical, on the practical side. But there's something you may not know. Olam had been one of the founding members of Association of Nigerian Exporters, so you will not go without being arrested today. Now, based on your experience in agricultural education and training, sorry, my dear, Olam Nigeria. Considering Olam Nigeria's extensive experience in the export market, what are the primary challenges you face in meeting international quality standards for processed commodities such as cocoa and palm oil and any other one you can handle now?
Thank you very much. As a bit of a background, let me just speak to the fact that Olam has been in Nigeria for about 35 years. So we operate from farm to fork. So we've been the largest exporter of cocoa, cashew, sesame, cotton, ginger, across Africa to a large extent from Nigeria, since we are operating from Nigeria. And this is very important that we are speaking to market access. So market access provides the platform for all of us to be able to speak to each other and talk about the accessibility that we have with respect to our products. I usually don't always like to talk about challenges. I always like to talk about opportunities, because all of us know what our challenges are, but the opportunities is what is important for all of us to speak to. So across Africa, Olam is cocoa, for example, in Nigeria, let me keep a bit of background, because there's a saying that in God I trust, every other thing is data. Look at cocoa, for example. Nigeria used to be one of the largest producers of cocoa in the 70s. Okay, but right now, the #1 cocoa producer in Africa is Cote d'Ivoire. Nigeria is a distant third. Okay, after Cote d'Ivoire, you have Ghana, then you have Nigeria, and then you have Cameroon, which is our next door neighbor. So for us, we've been processing because we have what we call local buying agents who we buy from. We have certifications, we have gradings for the cocoa that we export, okay? And to a large extent, across value chains in Africa. In Nigeria, for example, the cocoa revolution has more or less slowed down to a large extent. But what has slowed down in Nigeria with respect to the cocoa value chain has been accentuated in Cote d'Ivoire because of their commodity boards, okay? And in Ghana to a large extent. So market access is provided there. All the linkages that are expected exist in there. But here in Nigeria, for example, we have aging farmers. People are not, we're talking about the production of cocoa in Nigeria hovers between 250,000 and 300,000. Sometimes they give you statistics of 400, 420,000. Look at Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire is doing between 1.8 million to 2 million tons. Ghana is second, doing between 1.4 and 1.5. So, like I said, across Africa, we have processing plants in Ghana, for example, and in Cote d'Ivoire, where we do cocoa and we export. So, in terms of production of cocoa in Africa, 70% of that is Nigeria, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, Nigeria, and Cameroon, okay? But for us, because of the fact that we've been in this for a very long time, we're effective and efficient in terms of the entire value chain and how we procure from our farmers, how we get to certifications, how we take care of the logistics because of the experience that we have. So for us, that experience needs to be ramped up at scale and more or less replicated across other products. That's on the cocoa side. On the cashew side, ditto. On the sesame side, same thing. On the cotton side and the ginger side, we do the same thing. Let me give you a bit of context. In Africa, business-wise, okay, trade that we do amongst ourselves is between 2 and 3%. We can do better against the backdrop of the African Continental Free Trade Area. We need to do more exports or business or trade amongst ourselves on the continent. We can't constantly continue to do businesses outside our geographies. We can do better by doing businesses, by doing trade amongst ourselves. And again, the earlier speakers spoke about production. We must be able to subsidize production, not consumption. Everybody provides a kind of subsidy here and there for production. Let me go quickly to rice, for example. Rice in Nigeria or rice in Africa. Nigeria, to a large extent, produces the greater part of the rice we consume in West Africa. Let's use West Africa as a base. Yes, it's a case study. Nigeria consumes between 6.5 million and 7 million tons of rice. We produce between 3.5 and 4 million. The balance of 3 million comes in through smuggled, is the gap, but it comes in through the borders smuggled. But Olam has a 4,500 hectare land area in Nasarawa, which is in Doma in Nasarawa State, where we have a rice farm and a rice mill with about 35,000 farmers that we support. So Ramesh was speaking to having a nucleus farm and having outgrowers. We have 35,000 outgrowers that we support in Nasarawa and the adjoining states, okay? So we contribute about 10%, 10 to 12% of Nigeria's rice needs. But what we need right now is to have many more Olams in that value chain playing along. The big multinationals must be encouraged to work with smallholder farmers, take offtake from them, process, and take to market. Okay? Full self-sufficiency, everybody talks about food security, food security. Food security is an integral part of national security. So any time people talk about national security, food security is an integral part of that, and that needs to be addressed. We've talked about land area, cultivation, providing inputs, infrastructure, and all that. Those things need to be ramped up for us to be able to be competitive and export-oriented and export-led. I hope I spoke to a bit to the issues. If other questions come in the course of time, I'll address them.
Surely they will come. Now, we are following, and I believe a lot will come forward. For now, let me look at all these things we are saying. We know we'll need money, and the banker is here. So today, I'm sure Olugbenya is not just going to talk about us opening bank account with the bank. He's going to confess to us the success story as well in helping us. So from a banker's a financial perspective, what are the critical factors that banks consider when providing export financing to agribusiness, dealing in processed commodities like rice, cassava, and cashew?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me also follow the trend set by my brother, Mr. Adefeko. Let me talk about Wema Bank. Wema Bank is a 79-year-old institution, will be 80 next year, March. Wema Bank was primarily set up way back to support the economy of the Western region when Nigeria was operating regions. And what was the mainstay of the economy of Western region? We all know it was agriculture, and majorly cocoa. And cocoa has always been an export crop from day one. So we have a track record, we have a history of doing that. We have, Wema Bank has changed positively over time. There's a renaissance that happened with Wema Bank, and Wema Bank is refocused on what the bank was founded on. So very much into financing agriculture and export in the last 10 years. Very, very much aggressively so. Now, the question is, what do we look for? What do banks look for, consider when making loans or providing advances or funding for exports? Three major things. Number one, we want to see your track records. What do I mean by track records? Track record is how long have you been in export business? How much export have you done? And how much export proceeds in terms of FX have you made? And we define that by saying we want to see we want to bank you if you have done at least 24 months in that business. It helps us to see your history and to help us to adequately measure all these things that I've mentioned. That is how long, how much, and how well. Now, the second thing we look for is your subsisting contract, your export contracts. We don't like to finance any speculatory trading of any kind. We don't like to finance speculatory trading. We don't want a situation where you come in, you say, just give me money. I want to aggregate exportable commodities. I want to export it to where, to whom, and when. So we want to see export contracts that help us to identify what you are committed to, what your obligations are, what is the specification, because we're talking about quality. So we want to also be sure of the the specification that the overseas buyer wants. So that when we give you money, we'll be sure that you are using it to get, to buy the commodity that the overseas buyer wants, or to process into the standard and the quality that the overseas buyer wants. And that also dovetails into your capacity. That's your track record of being able to do so. And lastly, we want to see your operational base, whether you have the facility to support your operations as an exporter, because we don't want to finance briefcase exporters. There are a number of people claiming to be exporters. I have one Shako contract somewhere, I have one contract somewhere, so give me money. No. So we want to visit your warehouse where you are aggregating those commodities. We want to see your processing facility. And why do we want to do this? We want to do this because we also want to be sure that you have a facility to keep the commodity, because that commodity is an asset. It's primarily going to be what you will use to repay. So if the commodity you are trading is in the here, we cannot see it. We are not investment banks financing stockbrokers. We are financing commodity, physical commodities. And so we want to see where you are aggregating them. We want to see whether where you are aggregating your commodity meets standards, because we know the question in global trade. One of the things is traceability. So we want to be sure that you meet that traceability test, you meet that traceability requirement. So we know where you are sourcing from, we know where you are putting them, we know how you are processing them, we know the certification your processing facility has. We want to be sure of all those things. So that's basically what we look at. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think for those who are exporters, You can give me a pass mark that he can answer. He knows the skills all we need. I think I would summarize for him that I remember some time ago I was talking to a banker in one of the investment or development banks. And the banker was saying, all they need is proof of product. And at the end of the day, what is proof of product? Proof of product will mean proof of quality product, proof of quantity. Because if you have the quantity and you don't have the quality, it will not fly. If you have the quality and you don't have the capacity, the quantity, you cannot also meet targets. So I think that's why I said I think he has scored some points there. And so, having said that, let me get over to Dr. Gabbey. We have talked about skills. We have talked about it in many ways. In fact, even in finance skills, even in management of the resources. Now, you have been managing a number of agri institutions and advising and all that. Based on your experience in agricultural education and training, what are the critical skills and knowledge, the critical skills and knowledge areas that producers need to successfully tap into the export market?
Thank you so much. I was just listening to my colleague here. He spoke about the most expensive commodity, which is value, money. When you look at the export industry across the globe, but coming back to sub-Saharan Africa, we need more skills. And remember, everyone ventures into business and dreams in getting into business, and exporting is one of the lucrative exposed business that is currently available. But what is required? Would you as a bank fund a business model that cannot produce the quality of education or even capacity to show that they are capacitated to implement what they are proposing? You look at high value proposals that tells you they're looking for 40 million funding. But is the person that is requesting for the funding fully capacitated to handle 40 million? I also concur with him when he speaks about briefcase exporters. This is what has actually shambles the industry quite often, where you find that you've got briefcase exporters hacking into the space, knows the people, knows the systems, but they do not have the quality of intellectual stimulation to provide the process of business model. I looked at another model where you want to get into a business stream, and you look at the exporting. There are so many liabilities underneath the scale. You look at food security, number one. Number two, you look at compliance. Number two, you look at biosecurity. Are you able to find somebody that has not even went through the export biosecurity channels? There is HACCP, there's FDA, there is IOS certification that needs to be acquired. So in a nutshell, I started an agriculture college in 2015 and focusing only on impacting skills. Number one, not numbers. And the skills that we're imparting goes from the one that has acquired personal skills or the product skills on their own, and we put them in the recognition of prior learning, meaning that this person has acquired skill which was not documented, we profile, and then you get certified for your skill, because some skills, it's actually learn on the go. And we've got few qualifications which are agro-processing, defined by the industry and the commodity of production. So in the phases of capacity building, critical scarce skill, the export industry is still having a huge gap that has not been saturated, that has not been tapped into fully, because our commodity trainings will train you on production, will train you on processing, but we're not training you on taking it out of your locality, meaning that your products are circulating locally. And if you want to take them to West Africa, from myself in South Africa, I want to bring them to West Africa. I don't know the iOS codes, policies, and procedures of bringing them to West Africa. And this is where there's a gap of critical scarce skill is for producers who wants to go into exporting. So there's a gap in biosecurity training. There's a gap in HACCP and FDA and iOS gap. There is a gap also in procurement system, because that's another part. You want to go into this, you do not understand even the mobility of transportation of the produce. So for us, we invest a lot in intellectual stimulation on the commodity or business that you want to invest into. But also, again, for Market Access Africa, it is yet another platform that actually, turns on this kind of information, because when we look at this, we see it as streamlined. It's actually not streamlined, it's not narrowed. It's actually more open. It just requires us to go through the process. The other thing is, when you get into this, remember there is process. For you to become the fine product, you need to be processed. So it's the readiness that we need as business people. It's the readiness that we require as commodity producers, and also the preparedness to invest in ourselves and the dreams that we have towards exporting our own produce. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think you've really spoken to the points. From my desk experience, you'll see somebody coming to ask you for an order, an export order. Say, DG, I want an export order for so and so, and you ask, where are the products? And the person tells you the product he mentions one state, or is all over the country. And you just know quickly that the person does not know even where the product is, not to talk of knowing where the finance will come from. So we have that experience. So from what you were saying, I can now look back again that when I tell exporters that export is #1 integrity business in the world, I keep saying so because if you are asked to farm for export, you have been given the standards. You should know that you will test the soil, you'll know that the right seedlings will give the right yields, you'll know all the pesticides, the herbicides, and you refuse to use them. At the end of the day, you have a bad market. And who is losing? The person that you wanted to export to rejects their products. But if you have followed the simple rules, do this, do that, do that, you can even sell the products right in the farm without harvesting. So I think these issues of training and skilling, that is very important. Now, having said that, let me get back to Ade. Ade, you mentioned, was it farm to fork? Farm to fork, as many of you will know, it has to do with traceability and all that. You have to know that who did it. So it boils down to doing the right thing. Now, let me come to you again. How does Olam Nigeria work with smallholder farmers to ensure that their produce meets the regulatory requirements and ensure compliance with international market standards?
Thank you. Based on our experience, like I said, we've been around for 35 years. We've worked with farmers from the rural areas, across states, across regions, across countries. And based on our expertise, we find that all our aggregators, all our local buying agents, we have every country that you export to has a specification. And those specifications, you make sure that the products you have are tailored to that. So what we do is that we have extension service training, inputs training, we provide inputs, okay? So best agricultural practices are put in place, which comes back to what she spoke to, capacity building, okay? Skills acquisition, learning, okay? For all that to happen, because of the fact that we've been in this for a while, we make sure that there's a nexus. Because when you talk about export, the country you're exporting to has a specification of what they want for, be it cocoa, be it sesame, be it cashew, be it cotton. Okay, so there are markers in terms of product specification that they want. We have farmers we work with, which we support with inputs across the respective value chains. We play across numerous value chains. I will make sure that these linkages are there, and there's what you call interconnectivity between them. So we work with farmers, aggregately about between 2 and 2.3 million farmers across the continent. That is quite substantial across different value chains in different countries. We're in 60 countries in Africa. So we do cocoa in some countries, Ghana, D'Ivoire, Nigeria. We do coffee in Uganda, Zambia. So you can go on and on. And in all those areas, based on the fact that we started here in Nigeria, by the way, in 1989. So we've acquired the capacity, okay, and the expertise. And that expertise has been translated into farmers. And we work with a lot of donor organizations and support groups. GIZ, for example, we work with them. TechnoServe, we work with them on the cashew part. So all these companies, make sure you have partnerships and collaboration. Very, very important. So I think we need to collaborate more, we need to partner more, and we need to help improve capacity. In improving capacity, we become more effective and more efficient. And I think that is what market access should do. Market access should bring us together, okay? A linkage, a connection, and that is what I think it will be the elixir for, sustainable export.
Thank you, Ade. The experience that Olam is bringing onto the table should be highly appreciated. The last time I tried to look at Olam, I noticed that they are in almost over 20 countries, over 23 countries, and I discovered that they have been exposed to quality issues. And if we are talking of testing products, they know where to test products. Maybe they have also invested in quality laboratories and stuff. So you still need to look up to them for more of those stuff, because that's what Market Africa is all about. I think it's great. We've come this far. I want to look at you again. My brother. We are still talking, and all these things, money there inside. If there's no money, it's not easy. Maybe I want to look, because I can see the MC is looking at me. Don't mind us. We are talking to the real thing, because by the time we finish, you'll be so overwhelmed. So, let me talk to you. How does Wema Bank support agribusiness in navigating the complexities of, okay, you've talked about that already, right? No, okay. I knew you were leading to that somehow. How does Wema Bank support agribusinesses in navigating the complexities of export regulations and ensuring compliance with international market standards?
Okay, so I spoke generally the first time. That's what most banks that fund export business will require. But specifically, what does Wema Bank do to help navigate complexities? So one of the things we try to do, as spoken to by my sister from South Africa, is capacity building. We have an export academy where we take MSME exporters, the up-and-coming ones, through to understand some of the issues at stake with respect to global trading, export business, the HACCP, apart from the specification that the export overseas buyer wants. What about all the other regulations, biosecurity, phytosanitary conditions, and that's why we want to prevent a situation like when you've packaged the product, the African market in the UK or in the US wants your product, you package everything, the size of the beans it wants and everything, and then you get to the port of destination and it's seized by customs. Not because you have not met the specification of the buyer, but what about the regulatory environment? What about what the country, the destination wants? So one of the things we do is, through the Export Academy, is to help identify and all of that. Then the other thing we do to help with stakeholder issues is we have very good relationship with Nigeria Export Promotion Council. So we try to link those MSME exporters with the NEPC for issue of certification, for issue of licensing, for issue of renewal of permits, because one of the things we also look for is that you give us your export permit. So if it is expiring or is about to expire, we can link you up with the relevant agency for you to renew. And a couple of other things, because the first thing we try to do is to actually understand your business, understand your special, peculiar situation and how we can help. And we have all this, we don't have a one-size-fits-all for everybody, but we have various solutions to help you navigate those complexities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have spoken a lot about qualities. Even then, I think in training in your institutions, Dr. Gabbey, you will look at that also. But let me come. He has just spoken about mentioning Nigerian Export Promotion Council and the collaboration. That will bring us to public sector collaborations. Specifically, I had the privilege of serving in the board of Nigerian Export Promotion Council, governing board between 2018 and 2023. So I understand what he's talking about. With that, I want to just ask us to look generally at that, each of us. The question is, how can collaboration between private sector, government agencies, and financial institutions enhance the competitiveness of agricultural products, for export and locally, regionally, and globally? Want to take that first?
Thank you. Partnership and stakeholder relations fosters high-range development. You know, it's collective...
One minute.
Yes, collective success, collective growth. That's what I believe in. If we look into how relations have breathed and birthed multiple institutions, today we are seated here and gathered here, it's because of stakeholders, partnership, and relation. Everything links to each other. But when you come back, again, how do we sustain? More than anything, we can formulate, we can form, how do we sustain? How do we carry forward? Now, when I leave here today, I've got a biggest assignment. How do I collect all my stakeholders here and make sure that we give birth to the biggest, highest value institution for human capital development towards export, training, and upskilling? You know, and I look at how public institution, private institution can form part of this institutional development to make sure that we produce high value and high quality exporters across sub-Saharan Africa before we leave our geographical space.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Well,
Ade?
yes, since we're out of time, I will speak to two things quickly. Public-private partnership, we need to cooperate, we need to collaborate. And that's the only way we can ensure food security for our continent.
Olugbenya?
Collaboration, partnership cannot be overemphasized. Like I've demonstrated in my presentation, we work across agencies and private sector, and this is the way forward for Nigeria. Market Access Africa should also emphasize on this so that we can leave the stage of talk to action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it boils down to one point. The organizers of this program are actually here to collaborate. That's one of those areas we are talking about. Because what they have come here, setting the stage for the whole of Africa to collaborate is very significant. And we are talking about Africa Continental Free Trade Area. It cannot work without collaboration. The Western of the ECOWAS, the other regional forces will have to collaborate, and that is what will lead us further. And we in the private sector, we must take our own positions. I think it's a great opportunity, and I thank you, dear panelists, for making this happen, and Dr. Gabbey for flying all the way to come and share this thought with us. Thank you, all of you. God bless you all.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aisha. I'm the SA to the First Lady of Zamfara State. It's like a plea to the banker here. I heard Wema Bank is 89, and I don't recall seeing Wema Bank in Zamfara State. And like we all know, Zamfara is what will I say? Farming is our pride. So Zamfara is the hub of farming in Nigeria. And you support farming, so I would like to plead for Wema Bank to come and help support our farmers there in Zamfara State. Thank you.
Don't we in jackpot?
Please, in addition, our present governor now is a banker. So all the ways are going to be very easy and possible for you. Thank you.
Wema has won the jackpot here now. Any other?
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Olugbenya. I'm a member of the Association of Nigerian Exporters and also the MD of Talion Group. So my question is to the gentleman from Wema Bank. You know, this export thing is not really about Nigeria. It's an international thing. So when you're doing export, you have to also consider what other people are doing to remain competitive and relevant. So what I notice is that as Nigerian exporters are also trying to export, people from other countries are also trying to export those same goods. And I mean, you are not part of the issues of production and price, but in the area of finance, some of these exporters in their own countries, when a buyer wants to buy from them, that buyer can issue to them a standby letter of credit, and their own banks in their own countries finance them 100%. Sometimes even when they don't even have a track record, just on the strength of that standby letter of credit from a very good bank. But our banks don't do that here. We have to bring most of the cash ourselves. So we're not competitive against those guys. They can do larger scale. They can do it more profitably. They can move. So what I want to know is that why are our banks not very flexible in terms of financing and, you know, working with trade instruments to make the transaction more flexible? That's my question.
If you give me a standby letters of credit, you have mitigated part of what I consider to be payment risk. So why will I not take SBLC? But what I think you are speaking to is the issue of briefcase exporters and exporters without track records. It will be difficult, you know. It is a cycle that was like 10 years, 15 years ago. A lot of Nigerian banks were financing exports, and then everything went south. And then when we had challenge with FX, the government through CBN and everybody started supporting export again. Nexim, Afrexim, all of them woke up again. We don't want to go back to that state of everybody come to bank to come and get money because you have one instrument somewhere. Creative, one of the things they taught us in finance, lending, you don't do creative lending. If you do creative lending, you will burn your fingers. So lend based on something that you can feel, you can touch, and you can hold. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other one? But for what he's
Hello.
saying now, okay.
Sorry, go ahead. You were elaborating on that.
For what he is saying now, I am going to draw his attention to the fact that export is a very important sector. You guys should do something about what we try to do in the associations level and the ITC level, export trade finance for exporters. And that is, even in the banks, in the time that there was money and problems came, the Association of Nigerian Exporters members were having money and doing exports at that time. That was because we had export desks in banks. Export desks got killed, and they were re-christened trade finance desks. You understand? So I think if you now have export desks, you now send people to train on trade finance for exporters. It's a very specific course of its own.
I supervise Wema Bank's export desk.
That's what I'm saying now.
I have someone that reports to me who heads export desk.
So
just to
yeah, bank has it, okay, you see. So most of the banks, most of the banks have export desks, this issue of trying to ask too many questions from exporters will be handled. It's not only just at this forum. Thank you very much. Is there the final one?
Yeah, in fact, I would like to add something and at the same time ask a question. I'm Vishwajit Sinha from Dangote Fertilizer. See, last quarter of the year 2023, I had a chance to, listen to the report from Nanyang University, Singapore, which was primarily sponsored by some of the agriculture companies like Olam or maybe Tolaram Group, which talks about that Nigeria's situation today is that they are importing $25 billion of food and food-related products, and at the same time they're exporting around $2.5 billion. So there lies a huge gap. And if the things are not being done at an appropriate time, this gap will keep increasing. And I'm sure this particular gathering is going to address this issue also. So that is one important input I thought I will give. And all these panelists and all the distinguished guests here will really, in fact, think upon how exactly, in fact, our agriculture output grows and export grows. That's one. Second thing is specific to the gentleman from Olam. You talked about that Nigeria long back was the #1 producer of cocoa. And cocoa's today price from January till today, the price has gone up by 140% up. And also the Ghana and you talked about the Côte d'Ivoire. They represent the largest and they are 2/3 production of the world's cocoa demand. What is that Olam is doing in order to revital and revive the cocoa production from Nigeria? Opportunity is there. The cash crops, realization to you and to the farmer has gone up. So what is that as a Olam, as a company is doing in order to increase the production of cocoa from this country? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I spoke to the fact that since with the gathering we have here, I know there's a lot of, it's very Nigeria-centric, but we're talking about Africa here. So this is why market access is important. We're talking about Africa here. Olam will not tell you what it has been doing, what it's doing, or what it's going to do, but we'll tell you what we have done and what we're still doing. Supporting, to a large extent, on a very large scale, in Ghana, Côte d'Ivoire, and Nigeria, farmers to come back because realizations are getting better, yields are improving marginally, and there's a lot of support. But we need to speak to sustainability. Sustainability is very, very important. We must stop ad hocism. We do too many things on an ad hoc basis. We're the largest producer of cassava. We're the largest producer of yam. We're the largest producer of cocoyam. In spite of all these things, market access is a problem. That's one problem. Then, two, we talk about best farming practices, yields. Those are the issues. That's an area where we come in. But you see, one company can't do it. you have to have an aggregation of companies coming together. And very, very important in the value chain is the smallholder farmer. Smallholder farmer, very, very important. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Distinguished panelists, I think you've done justice, and the MC will agree with me. Madam MC, thank you. The organizers, God bless you all.